So we always start off the same. Same with centering. My elbows are always locked into my knees. My arm is also resting on the tray. If you struggle to do this part, you've really got to just actually use a lot more muscle than you think you actually need. But once you've got the technique, it sort of becomes a little bit easier. So once we've got it centered, find the clay. This is where I mess up because I'm filming myself. I always open up the same way, making sure that I compress the base. Do we remember why we compress the base?
Stop the circle.
S cracks or spiral cracks, yeah, just because otherwise this is the only time you actually get a chance to touch that bit of clay down the bottom. Now it's really important to think about the speed. I know it's a little bit harder, you're not going to be able to see anything on this camera in front of me here. No, you ain't going to see much out of that on it, don't you? Think about the speed. You start off fast, and as you're going down, I know it's one of these things that I keep going about. When you're doing the final bit of work, you are throwing very slowly. One of the difficulties with these Shimpo wheels is you've got no audible sort of information telling you how fast your wheel's going, which is one of the things that I find a little bit tricky. Quite nice using some smooth clay and not reclay. But you can already, I don't know if you can see that, but my wheel has gone from full blast. I'm now on probably about half the speed already. So we're just going to do an enclosed bottle form. So just collar in the clay, bring it up. Remember that the clay has got to pass through your hands at least once. And I'm not squeezing here at all. I'm just holding my fingers equidistant and moving them up. You do your squeeze at the beginning. Oh, I haven't got a sponge and a stick.
Do you want me to get one?
No, that's all right. I'll cope for this pot. Now, when you're bringing forms in, like bottles, it's really important to keep addressing that rim. Just compress it every time you do a pull or you do a little movement, because anything that goes wrong here is going to be accentuated as you start bringing the bottle in. Another thing I find when I'm doing forms like this is if I clean the slurry off like that, you actually compress the sides of the wall slightly and it makes it a little bit stronger. You get less of a wobbleosity when you're doing the pull. But you do then have to add water back. And when I add water, I'm running the water down my finger. Yeah, same on the inside. If you need water on the inside, run it down your finger, down on the inside. Don't just fill it full of water, because the more water you have in the bottom, as it sloshes around, it will make the pot weaker. So we're just going to start collaring it in. So I take it in initially, and I'm going to address that lip again, just to straighten it up. If it goes wobbly, then just get your pin and cut the top off, because you won't ever be able to get rid of that uneven thing. So just cut it off and get rid of it.
So, you don't want to do the colouring. What's been happening to me is it formed that kind of
a twist, because you're basically, the clay is either not lubricated enough or you're trying to squeeze too hard. So what's happening there is the bottom is starting to spin, and the top you're slowing down, which makes it the clay twist. So
Yeah.
you're slowing the top down, but the bottom is still spinning at the same rate. So that'll add that twist in. Yeah.
Yes.
So and you can't really get rid of that twist. Probably what David is finding is that you're running out of clay to do the neck. When you collar in, the clay gathers down here on the shoulder. I don't know why, but it always does. So what you need to do then is you can grab that clay and you can start pulling it up. The lip's okay. So when you go in this much, now the neck of that bottle is thicker. It hasn't gone up as much as it's gone in, has it? So what I'm doing now is I'm just starting to narrow the side walls of the neck of the bottle. So now I've got clay down on that shoulder because I've collared it in, and I've also got clay all the way up. Now you can see I am pulling very, very slowly. And I'm not squeezing. And when you're collaring in, you're probably squeezing, so you're slowing that rotation of the top down, and that will give a twist. The only way you can get rid of that twist, if you get a little bit of a twist, if you're really clever, is turn the wheel off, switch it in reverse, and throw it backwards. You can do it, believe it or not, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I'm using hardly any pressure now. But you can keep throwing. I mean, some people will even throw with a stick inside. It's not something that I do often. We'll give it a go. So when you see people with really, really thin necks, they've used a stick on the inside. And you can collar.
Is collaring the neck or shoulders?
Collaring is what I'm doing with my hand. My hands, that's this.
That's pulling it up a bit.
This is what you call collaring.
Okay.
It's actually the action, it's not what the pot is doing. So you can collar on a big pot, you can collar on a small pot. That's the action it has. It used to be called throttling, but I think it seemed to be a bit sort of a strange term to use. And that's doing your neck. You can obviously, when you get this refined and this small, already I've noticed again, because I'm on this whisper, I'm actually throwing a bit fast. Once you've learned how to do a bottle form or an enclosed form, it's one of the most satisfying things to do, is actually to bring that clay all the way in. I think it's probably one of the reasons why I continue to do it. It's just because it is so satisfying to, as a form to throw.
When I tried that, I ended up with a blob at the top that wasn't even. What did I do wrong?
What? That was because the lubrication stopped in my hand. I can't do anything about that. Believe it, it's quite quirky.
Yeah.
You ended up with too much clay at the top?
Yeah, and it ended up being like a blob.
Without me seeing it, it's really hard for me to go, that's exactly, it's probably just not pulling up evenly all the way up to the top. It's a bit of wabby-sabby, that is. Or can you pass me your, the wire there, Benny? There's no point in trying to straighten it. That's the one that's worth the most money.